My name is Daniel McCarthy. I'm 42, a gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. 22 years of service. Iraq twice, Afghanistan 3 times. I've seen bullets whip past my head, watched friends die in the dirt, carried bodies in heat that could melt a man's mind. But nothing, not war, not death, not the smell of burning metal, prepared me for what I found when I came home last fall. I grew up in Kentucky, raised by a single mother who taught me 3 things: never lie, never run, and never betray the people who love you. I lived by that, still do. I joined the Corps right out of high school, left everything behind except a duffel and a photo of my little sister. Over time, I built a life that was rigid, disciplined, structured, safe in its own way. I met Julia when I was 31, during a 3-month rotation at Pendleton. She was soft, where I was hard, spontaneous, where I was predictable. She had this laugh, loud, uncontrolled, and for a man like me, whose whole life was under lock and key, that laugh cracked something open. We married after 9 months. Everyone said it was too fast, but when I looked at her, I didn't see danger, I saw home. We bought a house outside Oceanside. She worked as a freelance graphic designer, mostly from home. Said she liked the flexibility, the quiet. I liked that she was always there when I called. Or so I thought. The deployments kept coming. 6 months here, 9 months there. She said she understood, that she loved the uniform, the pride of being a military wife. I believed her. She sent care packages, left me voice messages that made the guys jealous. You got yourself a keeper, they'd say. And I thought I did. The truth is, I never questioned her, not once. Not even when she got distant. Not even when she stopped sending photos. Not even when she started telling me not to come home on surprise leaves. I'm not feeling well, she'd say. The house is a mess. Take a few extra days to decompress, babe. I figured she was just tired. Lonely, maybe. I tried not to take it personally. Hell, I'd changed too, I knew that. I'd seen too much. Some nights I couldn't sleep unless the room was cold as a bunker and the fan was humming like a Blackhawk. But even with all that, I still thought we were solid. Until I got home last September. No warning. I came back 2 days early from my last tour. They flew us in quiet. I didn't call ahead. Thought I'd surprise her. Show up with flowers like a damn movie scene. I walked in the front door at 2:17 p.m. I remember that because I looked at the oven clock the second I heard something that didn't belong. A noise, a voice, and then silence. That was the moment something inside me shifted. At first I thought it was the TV, but when I stepped into the living room, the TV was off. The room was spotless, too spotless, like it had just been scrubbed in a panic. Julia wasn't downstairs. No note, no sign she knew I was coming. I checked the garage. Her car was there. I went up to the bedroom. Empty. Then I checked the guest room. That was the first time I noticed the smell. Sweat. Cologne. Not mine. The window was open, blinds moving slightly in the breeze. Something was off. I didn't say anything to her that day. I didn't tell her I came home early. I didn't tell her I knew someone had been there. I just watched her. For days. The way she jumped when the phone buzzed. The way she cleared her browser history. The way she smiled too wide when I asked what she did all week. And I kept watching. And what I found, what I discovered by pure, awful accident, was so much worse than I could have imagined. But I'll get to that. For now, just know this. I've fought for my life in war zones, stared down the barrel of enemy rifles, but the most humiliating, soul-crushing battle I've ever fought started in my own home.
The thing about being trained for combat is you learn to wait. You don't react, you observe, you study, you assess. So that's what I did. For 6 days after coming home, I played the role of the clueless husband. I smiled, I unpacked, I helped with dinner. I even let her sleep next to me like nothing had changed, even though every cell in my body screamed that something was very, very wrong. I started small. Checked the Wi-Fi router logs. Weird, I know, but I once had a buddy whose teenage daughter was sneaking around, and he taught me a few things. What I found wasn't subtle. A dozen connected devices, laptops, iPhones, a tablet I didn't recognize. She said it was for work. Then I found a second email account in her name. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed clarity. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I started monitoring her. I bought a cheap keylogger and installed it while she was at Target, set up hidden folders to capture screenshots, screen recordings. I wanted to be wrong. I was begging to be wrong. But by the third night, I had my first answer. And it hit me like an IED. Her emails weren't flirty. They weren't even romantic. They were vulgar, graphic, organizing times, picking who would come over, naming them. There were 6 different men over the course of 2 months. Different names, different messages, different meeting points, but always one common theme, me not being home. One thread chilled me the most. Saturday at 2 works. He'll be gone until Tuesday. Bring the other 2 if they're free. Use the side entrance like last time. Side entrance. Last time. Other 2. I read it over and over, thinking maybe it was some twisted misunderstanding. But I knew better. She wasn't just cheating, she was hosting. She was the goddamn ringleader. The logistics, the secrecy, the sheer frequency. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about one guy. It was about attention. Control. Something I'd stopped giving her while I was halfway around the world bleeding for our flag. And here's the thing that wrecked me the most. I still loved her. Even as the hate burned through my chest, there was this little dying piece of me whispering that maybe she could explain, that maybe there was a reason, that maybe I hadn't been enough. That's the part that humiliated me the most. I started noticing more. The closet had clothes I didn't recognize, lingerie I hadn't seen, condoms I never used, even towels that weren't ours, like someone else had brought their own. My home was a battlefield, not metaphorically, literally. Every room became evidence, every drawer a landmine. She still kissed me in the mornings, still made my coffee. I looked her dead in the eyes and thought, you have no idea I know. That made her dangerous. That made me dangerous. I considered leaving, just walking out and disappearing. But that wasn't justice. That was escape. And if there's one thing Marines don't do, it's run. So I started planning. I needed more. Screenshots weren't enough. I needed undeniable, objective, undeniable proof. I bought cameras. Small ones. Wi-Fi connected, motion triggered. One in the living room, one in the hallway, one in the guest room, hidden inside an old router shell. I told her I was going to Phoenix for a last-minute training seminar. She didn't ask questions, just kissed me goodbye and told me to be safe. I kissed her back. I drove 10 miles out of town, parked at a rest stop, and waited. I watched the live feed on my phone like I was deployed again, waiting for a target. My own house became the mission. And by 3:12 p.m. the next day, my mission was complete. The front door opened. 2 men, one with a gym bag, the other holding a 6-pack. They didn't knock. She was waiting. She wore nothing but a robe. She led them upstairs. I watched them laugh. She kissed one, then the other. And then I stopped watching, because I didn't need to see it to know. I already knew. I had everything I needed, everything to destroy her. But the thing about revenge is, it never lands clean. And I was about to learn just how messy it could get.
I didn't sleep that night. I stayed in the truck, parked behind a closed gas station off I-10, staring at my phone screen until the battery gave out. I didn't need to charge it. I already knew what I'd seen. I'd seen enough. My wife, the woman I had protected, trusted, built a life with, had invited 2 men into our home, undressed in the bedroom we used to make love in, and smiled while they laughed and touched her like I never existed, like I was a ghost who left behind his clothes, his mortgage, and his fading presence. I told myself I wouldn't cry. Marines don't cry. But that night, I broke. And it wasn't because of the sex. It was the ease, the routine, the way she handed them beers like they were friends stopping by to watch a game. I was the stranger in my own story. So I charged my phone in the truck, drove to a motel in Chandler, and spent the next day downloading everything. Video clips, time-stamped screenshots, chat logs. I stored it all on 2 flash drives. One I kept, one I mailed anonymously to a buddy of mine at the JAG office, just in case things went sideways. I returned home Monday night. She was in the kitchen making stir-fry, like nothing had happened. She smiled when I walked in and said, "You're early." I kissed her cheek and said, "Missed you." I watched her flinch just slightly, like the words weren't quite deserved, and they weren't. She poured me wine. I didn't drink it. I asked how her weekend was. She said, "Quiet." I smiled. She asked about Phoenix. I said, "Routine. Boring." We were both lying through our teeth, but my lie had purpose. Hers had poison. That week, I began preparing phase 2. She still didn't know anything, still walked around in silk robes, still checked her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I started syncing her texts to an old iPad she never used. Everything was coming through in real time. I knew their names now. Alex, Brandon, Miguel, sometimes 2 at once, sometimes 3. There was a group text. A fucking group text. She called it the Midnight Club. There were videos, photos, comments. One of the guys even rated her. "Best I've had in years," he wrote. Another responded with, "Her husband's a clown, lol." That was the moment something inside me snapped. It wasn't the betrayal anymore. It was the disrespect. The way they talked about me like I was a punchline, a background character in my own marriage. I wasn't about to let that slide. So I planned a trap, not just for her, for all of them. The next Saturday, I told her I'd gotten called back to base for emergency drills. She nodded without blinking. No resistance, no sadness, no fake concern. I left early morning, then circled back around, parked in a neighbor's yard with their permission. They were gone for the weekend, and waited with my camera, drone, and Bluetooth feed already in place. By 2:45 p.m., I had a front row seat to the circus. 3 men showed up, one after the other. She wore a black lace bodysuit and met them with drinks already in hand. They walked in like they owned the place, like I didn't matter, like this was some kind of regular thing, which it was. They laughed. They grabbed her. She didn't resist. She encouraged it. I recorded the whole thing. I didn't stop this time. I didn't look away. I watched every second because I needed to. Because if I was going to bury this marriage, I had to burn it first. At 4:12 p.m., while they were still upstairs, I unlocked the front door and walked inside. Quiet. Focused. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just placed the iPad on the coffee table, opened the live feed, and turned the volume up. Their voices echoed through the house. Her moans, their names, laughter. Then, I climbed the stairs. Not fast, not slow, just steady. They heard me coming before they saw me. The house went dead quiet. I opened the bedroom door and saw them. All of them, half naked, caught mid-act, frozen like deer in headlights. My wife had this expression on her face I'll never forget, like her soul left her body, like she'd seen death walking to the room wearing a wedding ring. I didn't say a word. I just held up the flash drive. "This goes to your parents, your job, and the church board if you don't leave this house by tomorrow. All of you." They started mumbling, trying to talk. I cut them off. "I'm not asking. I'm not negotiating. You leave, or I make sure everyone sees what I've seen." My voice was calm. Too calm. That's what scared them most. She tried to speak, said my name, but I walked away. I went to the garage, grabbed 2 black garbage bags, came back, and tossed them at her feet. "Pack. I don't care where you go, just be gone." The guy scrambled to dress. One tried to apologize. I stared him down until he looked at the floor and backed out the door. My wife cried. I didn't. The house was mine again. Silent. Empty. But not peaceful. Because even though the war was over, the wreckage was everywhere. And I hadn't even begun to feel the real weight of it yet. That would come later. When the calls started. When the videos spread. When her family reached out. When people picked sides. That was still ahead of me. But in that moment, all I felt was clarity. The cold, brutal kind that only comes after fire. And I knew one thing. This wasn't the end of my story. This was just where it got real.
I spent the next 3 days cleaning. Not just the house. Everything. I stripped the sheets, burned the mattress, repainted the bedroom walls. Every corner she had touched, I reclaimed. It wasn't about rage anymore. It was about purification. Erasing the filth, the lies, the stains they left behind. I worked like a man possessed, music blasting, windows wide open. Every drawer she ever hid something in, cleaned out. Every perfume bottle, yoga mat, keepsake, photo, dumped, boxed, or burned. I didn't care what the neighbors thought. Some of them had seen the men come and go. I saw it in their eyes. I saw the guilt, the way they looked down when I passed. One neighbor, Doug, a retired Army guy, left a six-pack on my porch with a note that read, "We had no idea, man. You didn't deserve this." I believed him, but trust was currency now, and I was bankrupt. I didn't speak to her. Not once. She tried, left voicemails, dozens of them, emails too. Crying, apologizing. "I was lonely. I didn't think you'd care. It didn't mean anything. Please, just talk to me." She even sent one of her friends, Sarah, to the house. I didn't let her in. I told her if anyone else showed up on my lawn, I'd file a restraining order. I was done playing the broken husband. I was no longer confused. I saw everything clearly now. Then came the fallout. First, her job called. Apparently someone had received an anonymous envelope containing photos and video stills. It wasn't me. I knew who it was. My guy at JAG. He had contacts. His silence was payment. Her church board reached out next, the same one where she volunteered with teens and organized marriage counseling seminars. The hypocrisy was delicious. Word spread fast. Her mother, God help her, called me weeping, said she couldn't believe it, that she raised her better. I didn't have the energy to play comforter. I told her the facts and hung up. Then came the worst part, the kids. Not ours, we never had any, but my sister's kids, who adored her like a second mom. They asked where Auntie Katie went. I couldn't answer, I just changed the subject and prayed they'd forget. But kids don't forget, especially not betrayal, especially not the silence that comes when adults don't want to explain something ugly. That silence filled every corner of my life now. I went to the base. I trained harder than I had in years, ran until my knees screamed, sparred until my knuckles cracked. They all knew something had happened, but they didn't ask. In the military, silence is respect. I appreciated that. Katie moved in with her sister. I saw her once at the grocery store. She looked like hell. Thinner, pale, eyes puffy. She tried to come over. I walked away. She followed me to the parking lot, crying, begging. I told her to get in her car or I'd call the cops. She drove off. I sat in my truck shaking for 10 minutes. Not from sadness, but from control. It took everything not to scream. But I didn't. I didn't give her that. Then, 2 weeks later, something happened that shifted everything again. I got a message on Facebook from a guy named Jake. He said, "Hey man, I saw what happened with your wife. I was one of the guys. She told me you two were separated. I didn't know, I swear. But what I just found out, you need to see this." Attached was a screenshot of a group chat, a new one, dated just a month ago. She had been talking to even more guys than I knew about.
Not just Alex, Brandon, and Miguel, there were others, younger guys, college kids. She sent them photos, stuff I'd never even seen. There was even a message where she joked, "He's off playing soldier. I'm here playing house. Win-win, right?" Jake sent me everything. He was angry. Not at me, but at her. Apparently she lied to him too. Said I was abusive, said I had cheated first. It was textbook manipulation. I thanked him, then I saved every screenshot, every message. Not for revenge, I was past that, but for proof. Proof that I hadn't imagined it, that I wasn't crazy. That the woman I loved didn't just stumble. She built a whole second life and let it grow like mold behind my back. I took all of that, put it on another drive, and mailed it to my lawyer. I was filing for divorce. Not quietly, not gently, but scorched earth. I wanted her to feel what I felt when I walked into that bedroom, when I heard those names, when I saw my wife become a stranger I couldn't recognize. I included a letter in the filing, just one line. "You taught me what love isn't. That's all I'll ever need from you." The court date was set. I showed up in uniform. She came alone. No lawyer. Just tears. The judge asked if I wanted to speak. I declined. I had nothing left to say. The documents spoke for me. When it was over, I walked out without looking back. That chapter was closed. No fanfare, no closure speech. Just the quiet sound of a man finally breathing without the weight of betrayal on his chest. But that wasn't the end. Not yet. Because sometimes after the storm, you find something buried in the mud, something unexpected, a secret, a truth, a final piece of the puzzle that changes everything. That part was still coming. And when it did, it would flip my entire understanding of what she had done and why.
2 months after the divorce was finalized, I thought I was finally beginning to feel normal again, or whatever version of normal exists after your entire life implodes. I'd moved into a smaller place outside of town, closer to base, no frills, just clean, quiet, and mine. I started seeing a therapist at the VA, not because I wanted to talk about Katie. I honestly didn't even say her name in the first 2 sessions, but because I needed to understand why the betrayal still burned at night. Why, even though I got rid of her, cut the cancer out, I still woke up some mornings reaching for someone who wasn't there, someone I now hated. The therapist said grief comes in waves, that I was mourning a life I thought I had, not just a person. It made sense, but it didn't help me sleep. I buried myself in training and late-night runs. My team noticed I was sharper, more focused, more aggressive. They liked it, said I was back. They didn't know that it was the anger that made me faster, not clarity. One night after drills, I came home, opened my laptop, and noticed a message request on my old shared email account. I hadn't touched that inbox since the divorce. The subject line simply read, "You should know the truth." I stared at it for a full 5 minutes before opening it. It was from someone named Emily D. The message said, "I don't know you, but I found your email through an old chain Katie forwarded years ago. I debated writing you, but I think you deserve to know what really happened." I read it twice before continuing. She went on to explain that she had once been friends with Katie through a Facebook mom group, though neither of them had children. Katie used the group as a way to vent, to post filtered pictures of your home and marriage, and to craft a very specific image of her life. One of love, passion, loyalty, all a lie. Emily said the group began noticing inconsistencies, that Katie's posts started to become strange. Vague captions about freedom, flirty comments under other men's photos, even some private DMs with husbands of other women in the group. That's when she was booted from the group. But it didn't stop there. Emily said she bumped into Katie 6 months ago at a private party hosted by a mutual friend, a party she hadn't expected Katie to be at. That's when everything clicked. Emily had no idea Katie was married. At the party, Katie had introduced herself as single, that she used a fake mask name, that she brought a man with her, one of the guys from the bedroom video I'd seen. She said Katie was the star of the night, that the entire thing was filmed, distributed, sold. My heart sank. I wrote her back immediately, asked for proof, anything. She responded 2 days later, sent me a file, encrypted, said she got it from someone who'd been part of that scene, someone who had a crisis of conscience. I opened the file. It was her, Katie, in full makeup, talking to the camera, saying things like, "My husband thinks I'm at a book club. Let's make this one worth it." I couldn't breathe, not because of what she was doing, but because of how casual she was. No guilt, no shame, like I never existed, like the ring on her finger was just a prop. And then came the worst part. One of the men in the background said something I'll never forget. "Does your husband know we filmed at his house again?" And she laughed. She fucking laughed. My knees went weak. I had been humiliated in ways I hadn't even imagined. Violated in my own home. It wasn't just betrayal, it was desecration. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Told him I wanted to pursue charges. Anything. He called me that night, voice tense. Said revenge porn laws were complicated. That since I wasn't in the videos and it wasn't my intellectual property, it would be hard to press charges. But he said we might have a shot on property violations, unauthorized filming, illegal distribution. I didn't care about winning in court. I just wanted every person who participated in that violation to feel even an ounce of the shame they tried to bury me under. But here's the kicker. The deeper my lawyer dug, the more he found. She wasn't just cheating. She was living a double life. Registered under a pseudonym on multiple adult content platforms, running a paywall, making money. Thousands, maybe more. The bedroom cameras, she set them up. Some even before I deployed. She wasn't just participating, she was producing. I was living with a stranger who used me as a mask to hide behind. And suddenly everything made sense. The distance, the phone always face down, the random deliveries she'd intercept before I got home, the way she stopped wanting sex, but started spending more time editing photography. It was all part of it. A system. A machine. And I was just the fool paying the bills while she built her secret empire. I deleted every photo of her. I burned the last letter she wrote me. But even then, the ghosts stayed. I thought I'd hit rock bottom when I found out she cheated. But that wasn't the bottom. No. The bottom was discovering she had chosen this life. Built it. Embraced it. Laughed about it. And I was nothing but background noise. The war I fought overseas wasn't half as damaging as the one I walked into at home. And yet, I survived both. Barely.